Hey peeps, how y'all doing today and I'm like, I can't talk. I'm back with another video for you, alright? A nice little reaction thing. And this one is called What You Didn't Know About the Scotland-England Border. Yes, you know what I mean? I want to know what's going on with that border there and thing. And yeah, I have a little fascination with that little area there. Maybe because of the similarities and thing and the fact that, you know, from that area we have people coming from the Caribbean. There are a lot of them in my time. Now, I guess the expats population have changed to like Chinese and Africans and Arabs and stuff. But when I was on the island, it was many, Scottish, Irish, British, you know what I mean? Got all those ships coming in and things. So, yeah, I am kind of fascinated with that area there, where these people come from and things. So, I ain't gonna babble up too much. Let's go ahead on YouTube and sim and learn about that border between the Scotland, England area there, alright?
I'm Bruce Fumi, and I'm standing on the Scottish-English border, and I mean literally on the border. I came down here to make a couple of videos about the border reivers of the 16th century, and I discovered a couple of really interesting quirks about the Scottish-English border that I bet most of you didn't know. But if you stick with me, you're going to find out today.
Let's go.
If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right hand side of the screen. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. Now, the buildings there are the back of the hotel that I'm staying in for 3 nights as I film videos about the border reivers. I promised my wife a summer holiday, and this is it. In fact, her summer holiday's holding that camera. Now, the first thing that I'm going to tell you about is something that I hinted at in my video, How Did Scotland Get Its Borders? Now, I'll leave a link to that video at the end, but this is actually the bit of the border that I refer to here. That wooden bridge goes over a ditch and it's called Scots Dyke. But for hundreds of years, the lands around here were called the debatable lands. For the most part, the border between Scotland and England was decided by Alexander II of Scotland and Henry III of England at the Treaty of York in 1237. It goes along the River Tweed from the east to Carham, turns south for a bit, and then it heads west to where the Cairshopfoot Burn meets the Liddell Water, which continues to the River Esk over there and ultimately to the Solway Firth.
Now, the thing about that area there, you know what I mean? And areas where there's like landlocked borders, kind of like this. Why would they be disputable, the borders? Is it just the quest for more land? Because it doesn't seem like there is any natural minerals on either side of the land, you know, that they were able to exploit back then. There was a river, it seems, but you know, it doesn't seem like it's a major tribute, you know what I mean? It just seems like a little river. Unless maybe back then there was a lot more traffic there. I don't know, where would they be going? How would there be trade, you know, unless it's between like small villages and stuff? And if that's the case, was it like essential for the survival of the people there? You know what I mean? But, you know, and these kind of borders like this, like where he's standing there, I mean, there's borders like that in South America to where you could just walk across and be in another country. There's no wall, there's no guards, there's nothing like that. You could just walk into a different country. And I know in some parts of Europe they like that. And I know there's places like that in Canada, between Canada and America, you know, where it just, the border goes straight down the middle of a town, and one town is Canada, one part of the town is Canada, and one part of the town is America. That kind of stuff is quite interesting to me.
Except it doesn't quite do that. Now, back in the day, somebody had to protect the border. On each side, there were marcher wardens to make sure that there were no incursions by other side hanky-panky. On the Scottish side, the Scots, the Johnsons and the Maxwells kept an eye on things. On the English side, there was a march warden in Carlisle. The problem was that this chunk of land, this territory here between the River Esk and the River Warp, was a bit uncertain. These were called the debatable lands. In that area, you'd find the Armstrongs, the Grahams, the Elliots and the Bells. Now, the problem was that these families were too powerful for the March wardens to easily deal with, but not a big enough problem to justify an army from London or Edinburgh. Truth be told, both London and Edinburgh were probably quite glad to have a buffer zone, but it meant that these families tended to act with impunity, nipping across whatever border they liked to nick stuff and never really been firmly dealt with. Now, James V tried to deal with Armstrongs on this side of the border, and I've made a video about that. Right, I'll leave a link. Spoiler alert, it wasn't until after he was dead and his daughter Mary Queen of Scots was on the throne in 1552 that an agreement was finally reached, sealed by the French ambassador. Here, in the west, the border would run from the source of the River Wark across to the point of the River Esk opposite the house of Fergus Graham. I'd be tempted to get Fergus Graham to move to Hastings and bingo, you've got a new territory. It's effectively what Tony Blair did with the sea border in the other direction before giving Scotland devolution. Oil won't drill itself, you know. Burning carbon's bad, I was just making a point about the border. Now, that line between two rivers would be split so that the English got the eastern side with the main road north, and the Scots got the western side with a lot of bog and moorland. Who doesn't like a bit of bog and moorland, let's be honest. Now, to ensure there were no further disputes, they built a mound here called the Scottish Dyke as a demarcation line, and that's the one that we're standing. I'm actually doing this Scotland history tour in England, but only just. But I've got an even more interesting quirk of the border that I want to show you, and it wasn't due to the diplomacy of kings, queens, or ambassadors, but much more ordinary folk. Let's head east.
See, ordinary folk got together, had their own little agreement to dig. If we want, we could do it. It's been done throughout history. It's not emphasized a lot because it's not romantic to just talk about something and create a solution. It's more romantic to get out the battlefield and kill each other and all of that. Like there's a feud here. It's not a border feud, but it's a feud between the Hatfields and the McCoys, and they have romanticized that. They killed this one, and then this one fell in love with the other one's daughter or son, and there's all kinds of stories and tales tell, and it's all romanticized, based around the worst behavior of human beings. Nobody's sitting down and they won't have a story about them sitting down and talking and hashing it out, and so we could learn something about how and if they hash it out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but they have to go there and, fight and do all of that stuff. And I'm not saying sometimes it's not necessary. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think a lot of the times it's not necessary. Guy do a lot of traveling.
We've just had 3 wonderful nights at the Marchbank Hotel, Longtown. The food was fantastic. And I'm not a big eater. Anyway, you must stay there if you can, but we've come east, and this is the River Tweed, the border between Scotland and England. The border is the centre point all the way along the river, but this field on the English side of the Tweed is Scottish. Now, I don't know how the farmer's going to get his tractor into this field in an independent Scotland, but it'll be the bridgehead for a military assault when we eventually take them over. Seeing as Fergus Graham didn't move to Hastings. Sadly, somebody's going to take that joke seriously and there'll be aggressive rants in the comment section. What can I say? Social media and modern politics are an inflammatory mix.
True.
So, why is this field part of Scotland? Let me show you in a Google map. I'm standing here. I'm hoping that you can see that the border at this point leaves the river and traces out the shape of a field next to me. The border goes a bit like this. I'm assuming I'll get the graphics done later. If you can see my face, I have it. Now, you see on the English side of the border, on the other side of this field, there's a village called Wark. they've got a ruined castle that David the First besieged, but that's another story. On the Scottish side of the river, there's a town called Coldstream. Now, way back in the day, they were both little villages, and once a year, they'd play a ball game. You know, that big stramash type, early prototype form of football, rugby, whatever you'd call it. Today, this field is corn, but if we look further into the field and deeper into the past, we'd apparently see a rectangular area that had been enclosed close to the riverbank here. Apparently, there'd also have been a post that lined up with it on the Scottish side, because apparently this piece of land is the ball green where they played. Each year, the men of Coldstream played a ball game against the men of Warp. Incidentally, why not join my team by getting one of my groovy t-shirts, hoodies or mugs in the shop below this video, right? You get a translation of it as well, right? Okay, it's brilliant. Anyway, whoever won the ball game kept this piece of ground until the next year. One year, this field was part of England. The next year, it might be part of Scotland. And so the border altered each year based on the result of the ball game. Now, over time, Coldstream in Scotland grew bigger, whilst the English Warp remained a cute little village. And as the Scots began to win year after year, it was clear that football wasn't coming home at all. That's why this field on the south part of the Tweed remains forever Scotland.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that a quirky and interesting part of the border? I've got a whole...
They grew and they kept winning the games, so they kept the land. I wonder how many years did they win before the other team says, man, just keep it. Oh wow, that's that. Hey, that's a nice little story there. That's pretty cool.
Video on how Scotland got its borders, and you can find it here. In the meantime, I mean, Doc is...
Okay, yeah, that was a pretty neat little story there. It's amazing when you break down the major battles and stuff of history, and then you get those little stories like this one where the people just went, hey, here's what we're gonna do. If you beat me, you have that land for a year. If you beat me, you have that land for a year. Apparently nobody was planting anything on that land, even though they could, because they could plant stuff and it would harvest that same year. And then the next year, the next person, if they win, they could do the same thing. And if they did it that way, that would be like some nice coordination of peace and inadvertently community between the two different countries, getting along and thing. I'm telling you, that's a nice little story. I hope you guys enjoyed that one as much as I did. If you did, drop a like on the video, you know what I mean? If you also comment, man. And please, if you know any other little stories like that in history where you are, suggest me I read them and thing, or what I react to them, because I like little stories like that, kind of a feel good type stories, where it's not always like fighting and warrior vibe, you know what I mean? Because I'm man is a peaceful man. But I'm gonna leave a link in the description to this video so you could check it out. And like I said, you know what I mean? So share the video, man. Share the video and thing. The more we vibe up with it, the more I'll have time to do more video. Let me put it that way. You all take care of each other, all right? Cool runnings.